When you think of history, the first word that comes to mind is war. War is an intense armed conflict between states, governments, societies, or paramilitary groups such as mercenaries, insurgents, and militias. It is generally characterized by extreme violence, aggression, destruction, and mortality, using regular or irregular military forces. Some would go to war as a last solution, while others start them for stupid reasons. Today, I will list down 5 very stupid wars in the history of mankind. Number 5. While the War of the Oaken Bucket sounds more like a college game day rivalry, it was really a 1325 war between 2 Italian states, Bologna and Modena, that killed 2,000 people. It was really a proxy war between supporters of the Holy Roman Empire and the papacy, and before I get too far into the details here, what you really need to know is that it was started because some Modenese soldiers took the bucket from Bologna's town well. Even dumber is lopsided victory the Modenese won in defending that bucket. At the Battle of Zappolino, some 32,000 Bolognese marched on 7,000 Modenese, and were chased from the battlefield. Number 4. The former president of Paraguay, Francisco Solano Lopez, was a big fan of Napoleon Bonaparte. Thinking he was a great leader and a strategic genius, he thought the only thing he was missing to be like Napoleon was war. So in 1864 he declared war against 3 countries, Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay. And what do you think was the outcome of the war? Of course, Paraguay was almost destroyed. It is estimated that 90% of the male population of Paraguay died during the war. This could be one of the most unnecessary wars because there was no actual reason to declare war on its neighbor countries. Number 3. The Football War, or the 100 Hours War, was one of the shortest wars in history, between 2 Central American countries, El Salvador and Honduras. It started after El Salvador defeated Honduras in a World Cup qualifiers game in 1969. Of course, the football wasn't the main aspect of why the war started, but the economic crisis in both of these countries, and the hatred and harassment from Hondurans towards Salvadorians throughout the 1960s, because Salvadorian immigrants were blamed for Honduran economic crisis. War was declared by El Salvador because of the harassment that Salvadorian immigrants in Honduras were suffering after their victory in the football game. The war ended after the Organization of American States interfered and promised to keep the immigrants safe. Number 2. After his Mexico City pastry shop was destroyed by a lawless mob in 1828, a French chef named Remontel asked the Mexican government to pay damages, a request it promptly ignored. So he asked the French government for help instead, but everyone, except probably Remontel, quickly forgot about the request. 10 years later, the incident somehow caught the attention of King Louis Philippe, who demanded the Mexicans pay Remontel, including a whopping 90% interest rate. When they refused, the French blockaded Mexico and occupied the city of Veracruz. The French stayed until Mexico agreed to pay. Number 1. On December 10, 1932, the Great Depression led Australia to declare war on one of its beloved flightless birds, the emu. It proved to be one of the most futile military upsets of all time. The Great Emu War of Western Australia, as it came to be known, was a bizarre expedition where the country lost in a full-scale war against birds. In the first ever battle of the Great Emu War, soldiers reportedly armed with 10,000 rounds of ammunition and Lewis machine guns set out from Perth to launch an open attack, which failed. The devastating failure was widely covered by the Australian media at the time, and the reason given for it was, the birds were too quick and tough to kill. Newspapers constantly printed new war strategies devised by experts who all recounted later that it would take more than a couple of bullets to bring them down. And it was also revealed subsequently that nearly all of the emus escaped the attack.